Well, hello, everyone. It is Dr. Brandy B, your triple board certified pediatrician. Come on. I'm going to, so that I can make sure you hear me. So, yes, it is raining here in Birmingham. I am here with you for Focus on It Friday. So come on in. I know I'm very late today. I had a lot of things I needed to tie up. So, but I'm here with you. We've got Wanda Harris here. Come on in. Bring some people in and come on in along with them. I'm so happy to be here, y'all. It is raining. It's raining really hard. I'm really late, but I had some stuff to do, but I said, nope, gonna stop, go over here to Focus on It Friday. I got a little lipstick down there. I think I got some lipstick going on. That's what happens when you wear your mask and you have a lipstick. You get lipstick everywhere. So come on in, bring some friends. Come on in. We're going to do Ask the Psychiatrist. So I hope some people come, because if there's no one here to ask us any questions, then it'll be just me and Miss Wanda talking to each other. So come on in, go ahead and share the video. This is going to be a good one. We're doing it as an Ask the Psychiatrist, but I do have some things that I do want to share with you. If time permits and there are no questions. So come on in and let us know that you're here for Focus on It Friday. We have 2 people watching. If we get about 3 more, that'll be 5, and then we'll go from there. If you see me just throw the phone down and take cover, no worries, all is well. I am just going to stay dry because it is raining pretty good here off and on. Hello there, Miss Wanda. Hello. So nice to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining. We've got Patricia Franks Montgomery also joining. Thank you all for joining. And let me just say real quick, thank you to anybody who watches the show, and I don't ever call your name. It just means that I don't ever see it pop up. But I do want to say thank you so much for watching the show. I have a lot of parents who say, oh yeah, I watch you every week. I watch you live, but I just don't get the notification. And so then that means that I can't say hello to you, but I want to say hello to everyone. So thank you for joining. Let's see how many are here. We still just got 2, but we will go ahead and get started. I am Dr. Rudolph Olin. That's my other name. I'm Dr. Brandy B, your triple board certified pediatrician, adult psychiatrist, and child and adolescent psychiatrist. And through my Facebook live stream, Focus on It Friday, I help worried moms, dads, boys and girls, teachers, educators, and principals all alike, everybody get the education that they need so that they can help the children in their lives and the adults with ADHD shine. So I said Dr. Brandy Rudolph Bowling because I have so many names. I go by Dr. Rudolph Bowling if you're seeing me in practice. I go by Dr. Brandy B if you're seeing me on my Facebook live stream. And so it is all good. Today I want to go with Ask the Psychiatrist. So if any of you have questions that you want to ask me, come on in and go ahead and ask them. Post them here. I would tell you to send me a message, but I don't know that I'll be able to see it if I'm actually here in the video. But I'll go with some that I've seen this week. That usually is what happens, and that's usually what drives my videos each week anyway. Things that have actually happened. And so one of the things that I got a lot of this week, and that I noticed overwhelmingly in increasing amounts, is people that call their children lazy. People that call their children lazy. And I want you to know that, to me, lazy is a buzzword for inattention. Keep in mind that children want to do what is right. Children want to do well, and children want to do whatever it is that pleases us. So if your child, for whatever reason, is not doing what is right, what is correct, doing things well, and doing things that please us, then there is a problem. And so what we don't want to do is just automatically say, oh my God, he's just lazy. No, that's not the case at all. It could be that your child has ADHD. Remember that children who have ADHD often appear as procrastinators. That is one of the symptoms of inattention, that you procrastinate. And so procrastinating can look very different. And one of those things could look like you're just lazy. Just lying on the couch when there's so much work to do. You got homework to do. You could be folding clothes. You could be washing dishes. There's all this stuff to do, but instead you're just chilling on the couch, playing video games, watching TV, or doing absolutely nothing. And so it's just lazy. And so I want to make sure that you know that if you catch yourself thinking that your loved one is lazy, male, female, child, or adult, that it could be that it is not that they're lazy, but that they just are procrastinating, and that is a symptom of their ADHD. Oftentimes, kids will say that they are bored. Almost no one on the planet gets as bored as children do who have ADHD. Everybody else can find something to do. But when they don't have something to do, their brains are just moving and moving and moving and moving and looking for the next thing to do. And there may not be a next thing to do because it may be downtime. And so then they will quickly say, I'm bored, right? So watch out for the I'm bored in the child who has ADHD. And then finally, the adult may say, I just don't have motivation. I just don't have motivation. So I don't have motivation to me is code word for I have ADHD. Because again, you just don't have that get up and go. It's part procrastination. It's part frustration. It may be a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of depression. But for whatever reason, you just don't have what you need to get up and go. Hello, Miss Jess Butrika. I think that's how you say it. Welcome to the show. So those are 3 things that you may see or hear, buzzwords that you may hear your loved one who has ADHD say. The first one is you may think they're lazy. You may think that they're lazy. The second buzzword is that a child may say that they're bored. A child may say that they're bored. And then the third thing is that an adult may say, I just don't have motivation. And you can find that in your 11th and 12th graders too. Just don't have motivation. So being bored, being lazy, or not having motivation, if you yourself have thought these things, or if you've thought them about a loved one, it could be that ADHD is what is going on. So I did want to talk about that. Now, I got the question, what does ADHD look like in adults? And I want to share that with you. ADHD in adults, I always think about it if I see an adult who cannot keep a job, right? So it could be that they don't know the skill set. It could be, though, that they can't focus. Part of keeping a job is actually showing up and doing so on time. People who have ADHD are habitually late. Why? Because they are disorganized both in time and in space. Space meaning their things are not where they should be, where they thought they were, where they should have been. And so what happens when your things aren't where you thought they were? You're gonna run late. What needs to be where you thought it was in order for you to do anything as an adult? Your keys. Your keys need to be where you thought they were. Your wallet or your phone or your purse needs to be where you thought it was. So anytime I have somebody who cannot keep a job, I wonder, do they have ADHD? Especially if their child is before me and they have ADHD. So what else? How else does ADHD present in adults? Losing things. So again, you don't know where those keys are, and so that means that you are running late. You don't know where they are, even though you've got that beautiful thing that says keys, right? And so you'll be able to hang your keys there and know where they are. Well, you're not organized enough. You just walk in the house, you drop your pants, you drop your wallet, and wherever they are, your purse is, your keys are right there with it. And so you don't know where anything is. Hello, cousin Latina. Welcome to Focus on It Friday. I'm trying to get this temperature right in this vehicle. All right. So they're losing things. What else do they lose? They lose important documents for their job. Can't tell you how many people lost something that they knew they had it right there, but then when they go back to get it, guess what? It's not right there. So that is going to be a problem. So they're late, they're losing things, they're forgetful. Deadlines come up on them. Why? Because they procrastinate. And in procrastinating, what do you have to do? You have to rush. And when you're rushing, you make careless mistakes. These are all symptoms of ADHD, and these are actually the criteria. Rushing, making careless mistakes, and then not paying attention to details. So they did a job, they did it fast, they got it done, it's over with, but they at one place wrote 5 for 2 plus 2. Now 5 instead of 4 is calculated throughout the entire document, and now the entire document is completely wrong because they made a simple mistake. 4 and 5 are next to each other on the typewriter, but when you're doing things at the last minute, you may not have time to go back and proofread, and so you miss that 5, and then automatically 5 got calculated into everything that you did for the rest of that paper or assignment, and now you have a problem. Now you've got a situation. Hello, Latina. Hello, Miss Patricia Pruitt. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. All right, so what else is happening with adults? They're late. They show up running. They forgot something they needed. They don't pack their bags at night because they're going to do everything in the morning because they procrastinate, and then they end up rushing, and then they end up making careless mistakes. So you want to watch out for that for sure. What else with adults? Very irritable. I spend more time explaining how ADHD can cause a lot of irritability in children and adults. It may be, though, that an adult is completely functioning, right? So unlike children whose grades are low, they're rolling around on the floor, they're saying things to their teacher. With an adult, you may not see that. So the adult may not have all of those symptoms of hyperactivity that your children do. You may simply find that they are as moody as all get out. As moody as all get out. Why? Some of it I like to think is because the adult has simply learned and has used as a coping skill and has a wall up, a defense mechanism that they know they are going to forget something. And whatever you're asking them about, you're bound to ask them about something that they have forgotten. And so they are already just irritable and snappy, anticipating you to ask them about what it is that they have or have not done. Did you go to the mailbox? Yeah. Well, the mail is still in the car, okay? So what was happening is they forgot. And then they had good intentions of getting into the mailbox before you reminded them, but then they did not. So irritability can be a huge thing when we're talking about adults who have ADHD. And this is a great time for me to just remind you that there is nothing magical about an 18th birthday except that you can vote. But when it comes to most of your medical conditions, they keep going. ADHD included, depression included, anxiety included. There's nothing about an age that makes them turn off. So please, 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 to my physician friends, my psychiatrist friends, to my nurse practitioner friends who are treating ADHD, there is nothing magical about 18 that says this person doesn't have a job, so they don't need medicine. This person isn't in school, so they don't need medicine. It may be, quite frankly, that they're not in job, or they don't have, they're not in school, or they don't have a job because they cannot focus. If you can help them focus, they may be able to do what they need to do to get the GED, to get the job, and to do very well. So those are just some things I wanted to point out about ADHD in the adult. Cannot keep a job, always in trouble, always late, getting written up for being late, just cannot seem to get to work on time. Losing things, not being organized with meetings, forgot the meeting altogether, can't find the documents that are necessary for the meeting. They've procrastinated, and so when you can't find it, now you panic because now you got to recreate the document that you should be using to create whatever your presentation is. So you're recreating one while you're trying to create the other, and so now you've got to rush because you're running out of time. And so this is what happens, and you get into this same thing over and over and over again. So that is how ADHD looks in the adult. I love this example. I was seeing an adult male who had adolescent boys, and he told me that when he first started getting treatment for ADHD, he had not told anyone in his family. That he was starting medication. And so the family was on their way to church on Sunday morning, and the boys were in the back seat. And he overheard one boy say to the other, "Have you noticed that Dad has been really nice and in a good mood for the last week?" That was the amount of time that he had been taking medication. And he said that he cried. He cried because it hit him like a ton of bricks that he had been not so nice to be around for quite a while because he was so irritable from his ADHD. So even if you're still getting the job done, even if you still are showing up barely on time, there may be some mood changes that your family is recognizing that you don't because of your ADHD. And I say this all the time. ADHD is a dream killer. It's a dream killer. And there are some people who will just not meet the goal. There are some people who will meet the goal, but it will take them a long time. And then there are other people who will meet the goal, but it will just be a struggle for them to do so. They will have a lot of challenges. Whereas everyone else in college studies for 2 hours and has it, and I mean everyone else, this person has to study for 5 and 6 hours to get the same thing. Not because the material is any more difficult to them or they don't understand it, but because they can't focus. So instead of reading something once or twice, they've had to read it 7 and 8 times and still may not remember. And now, you know, that's just got to be an awful feeling, because yeah, college is supposed to be a little bit difficult, maybe a lot difficult depending upon who you are, but it should absolutely not make you miss out on all of the things that there are to enjoy about college. And college is to be enjoyed. It is one of the most fantastic times and one of the times of the most great memories of my life. So we certainly don't want a kid to find themselves in a situation where college is becoming so overwhelming that they cannot complete it or do it successfully. And keep in mind that 33% of your kids with ADHD will not finish high school. And I see at least 1 to 2 patients a week who have ADHD who were decent students. I'm not talking about the D and F students, but who were C and B, C, and D students now, but earlier had been honor roll students, first, second, maybe third grade. And then they just quit school because they could not handle the pressures of the rigor of keeping up with college. And of course, college is doable for just about anyone. The problem though is that there is so much more work to be done. The volume increases drastically. And in college, the volume increases drastically. And so if you are a procrastinator, which is a key element of ADHD, you're just going to have a hard time getting all of that work in. Hello, Miss King. She says she had to call Latina to see if I was going to be on. Yes, ma'am, I was coming. I was a little late, a little tardy to the party, but I'm so glad that I am here. Let's see, we've got Miss Jeremy, Miss Dia and Mr. Jeremy, Miss Chandra Tarver, Clark, Mama Rudolph is here. Alethea, cousin Alethea says hello. We've got Marsha Harden Knight. Hello, my sister. Thank you all so much for joining. All right. Now, I've gotten a couple of questions about anxiety. Want to go over that? Now, if this is for you all, so if you all have a question, go ahead and ask your question. This is the time for you to do so. This is the Focus on It Friday, where we do the Ask the Psychiatrist, and I want to make sure that I am answering your question. So if you have a question, go ahead and post it, and we will get it answered. In the meantime, I'm just answering some questions and some things that came up this week that are pretty common and usually come up quite often. The next is anxiety. So as you know, anxiety is the most common mental illness in the United States. It's not ADHD, it's not even depression, and it sure is not schizophrenia. Anxiety. There are more people that are worried than there are people that are doing anything else. Now, of course, anxiety can co-occur with other things, but it is anxiety that is the most common thing that we see in all of mental health. So what are we talking about when we're talking about anxiety? We're talking about that sense of worry, that sense of fear, that sense of what if that happens when there's nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, and really there's no what if that is potentially going to happen. So it is that sense of worry, like I said, that goes with having muscle tension, headache, neck ache, back ache, not being able to concentrate, being restless, not ever really being able to fall asleep or sleeping too much, waking up in the middle of the night, that 2, 3, 4 o'clock time when something is just on your mind, fatigue all the time, even if you're sleeping good, you're still fatigued, being irritable, and then, like I said, concentration. Those are the things that you worry about when we're talking about anxiety. And remember, there has to be no reason for a person to be anxious. In fact, by definition, that's what an anxiety disorder is. You're worried as if something is wrong, but there is nothing wrong and nothing to be worried about. Now, what do we do about anxiety? We want people to learn to relax. That sounds easy, right? Well, for people who have an anxiety disorder, it's not. They're always worried. What if this? What if that? There's always something to think about, something to do, something to worry about. And so, for those people, One of the easiest things I encourage people to do is to say no to things that stress them out and yes to things that make them happy. Now, when we're talking about things that stress you out, that could be a lot, right? Not having money for your bills could stress you out. Having kids who have ADHD could stress you out. Having kids who have a learning disorder, having a kid can stress you out. Just that could be enough. And so having a child with any special need can certainly do it. But if we say no to those things that stress us that we don't have to do, like taking on a new assignment, staying late at work, there's this whole this notion that I only have to do what you pay me for, and that is true. And so if that's what you feel, if you've got to pick your kids up at 3 o'clock, so working overtime doesn't work for you, you got to do that. But when you stay over till 4 o'clock and now your child, you aren't sure if they're at the fire department, a teacher's house, still on the steps of the school, you know that saying no would have been a better issue. Now, if they tell you if you don't stay late, you're going to lose your job. Maybe you need to talk to labor and wage people about that. I don't know. But there are some things that we say yes to that absolutely add to our anxiety because they either make us spend money we don't have, make us give time that we don't have, or both, okay? And so those are things that we want to stay away from. And then we want to say yes to things that encourage us loving on ourselves, right? Remember your self-care stuff. And self-care isn't selfish. It is not selfish, and it does not have to cost a thing. Sitting in your car for an extra 10, 15, 20, some people sitting there for an hour when you get home, but before you go in. That could be a good time for some good self-care. Going out to friends, taking yourself out to date. It's okay to do that, even if you're married, even if you're coupled up. It's okay to take yourself out on a date. You know what you like better than anyone else in the world. Treating yourself to that time alone. It is so, 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 so key. And especially for parents. I will never lose sight of the fact that before I ever became someone's wife and someone's mother times 3, there were things that I wanted. There were things that I liked. There were things that I disliked. There were things that hopes and dreams that I had for myself. And I think that as a mom, as a parent, it's important to hold on to those things. All too often, we get so wrapped up in our kids that we lose ourselves. And then what's going to happen to our kids? If we have typically developing kids, they are going to grow up and leave us. And that is absolutely what we want them to do. We say stuff like, oh, time be still, time stop. But we don't want time to stop. We want our kids to grow up and to leave us and to fly on their own. And so if we have kids that are going to do that, when they do that, if you've completely lost yourself, you don't even know who you're dealing with anymore. You're looking around and you're looking at yourself and you're looking at your spouse if you have one, and you're trying to figure out what now. Because you've put yourself on hold for so long that then when that person is not around, whether that be a spouse, whether that be your children, whether that be your job, you have nothing else to keep you going because you have identified yourself as those kids' mama, that job's employees, and that person's spouse. So make sure that you keep up with knowing who you are, because sometimes that can be all the stress reliever that we need. On Fridays, I typically am off, and I make sure that I use that time to do something for me, because every other time I am somebody's mama, somebody's wife, somebody's daughter, somebody's doctor. And all of those things come with their own set of stressors, right? They're fun. They're good. They're exciting. I'm happy to do them. But at the same time, I have to be myself, not my husband's wife, not my children's mother, not my mother's daughter, not my cousin's cousins, not my patient's doctor, but I have to be myself. And if you don't know yourself, then that will have you feeling like you are overwhelmed. You really do have to step away from everything. And I know it's hard. Just before I came on, I saw something that came up on Facebook as I was trying to get to my page to start this meeting, and it said, it was a lady cleaning up, and she said, do you want a clean house? And I perked up because I was like, oh, I want a clean house. She said, I'm going to tell you the secret to always having a clean house. And I said, do tell. And she said, The secret to always having a clean house is to not have a spouse, to not have kids, and to not have a pet. And she said, I know what you're thinking. I already have those things. And her response was, it's not too late to give them away. Now, of course, that was a joke, but we don't want to give our families away. But we do need to make sure that we take time for us, because long after they have gone on with their lives, you still need to be able to go on with yours. And sometimes just stopping and smelling the roses is a good way for us to know that there is life, right? For us, there are people that need us, but we need ourselves. We need ourselves to be happy more than we need anything else. All right, let's see what we've got. Mama says hello, and she says that's so true. Thank you, Mama. Miss Charlotte Stewart is watching. Thank you. Miss Stephanie Perry, hello. And Miss Nancy Brazier Ray is watching. Thank you so much for watching. Any questions you all have? This is the time that I do Focus on It Friday. I really should give you all more time so you can gather your questions. But if you have a question, and I make sure y'all get your questions answered anyway, but if you have a question, this is a good time to get it answered. This is a good time to get it answered. All right. So, I think I will stop there. I may come back on tonight. No promises. But I do want to give people a chance to get their questions kind of thought out, written down, typed up if they need to. But I certainly want you all to know, one of the things that I found this week was that there are a lot of parents, guys, a lot of parents who are just hurting. I saw a family for the first time last night. That lady has been on the list for a month. I'm sorry, for a year. She's been on the list for a year. And she was doing really good. She told me she was pretty sure that she knew what her child had coming in. And she did great the entire interview. And as the interview was ending, because everybody knows when the interview is ending, she said, she started to cry. And I could see it. And I said, now wait a minute now. Don't do that. What are we doing? What are we doing? I said, you've been going good. What's going on? And she said, just hearing these diagnoses. And I said, but when you came in, you told me these diagnoses. And she said to me, but having you say it confirms it. It's real. I thought, oh my, that's deep. And then she said, and she really started to sob. She said, I didn't want a child like this. I wanted a normal child. And guys, I always have words, but it was at that moment that I had none. I had none because, there are things that you just assume people may think, but you never, can you think about how that must have made her feel to even verbalize that, to say that out loud to somebody you've known for about an hour? And so I knew it was very heavy for her. It was very heavy for me. It was very heavy for me to know that, and even though I'm still trying to find words to really put with the feeling that I had and the feeling and to comfort her. Y'all know I always have something to say, but I was speechless. And even though I always say, what do I say over here? We have to make sure we parent the child we got and not the one we pray for. And she went on to tell me she prayed for a normal child. But it's something about hearing somebody say that. First of all, normal does not exist, okay? I don't know what normal is, but trust me, it does not exist. But to just know that, and somebody said to me, well, but the child is doing fine, right? And the child is doing fine. The child is doing fine. But like I said, part of being a parent is the hopes that you have for your children, the dreams that you have for your children. I want my children to do and be better than I am in every way possible. Better humans, better stewards of their money, better Christians, better, just better, right? I want them to make more money. I want them to give more, and I give a lot. I mean, I do really well. My husband and I do really well, but we want them to be better. We want them to, as I said before, grow up, go to the prom, go do this, go do that, get a family, get a job, get a bigger house than what we live in. I want them to have it all. And so part of what happens when a mom sobs like that, I believe, is that she steps over into the future. And she or he, as a dad, can imagine that their child won't do those things. That their child won't even do as well as they are doing as parents. And that's got to be a hard feeling, guys. It's really got to be a hard feeling to know that all those milestones, driving a car. You know, we laugh at kids who sneak out of the house, their parents want to kill them. But knowing that this child won't even have a desire to do that. And if they leave the house, it's just because they left. And they may not fully understand that really for them, it's a safety issue. They're in danger. So, you know, it was in that moment that it took me a couple of minutes to get myself together. I really was not okay. Because like I said, I've seen parents cry at certain diagnoses. I've seen parents say, what did I do? They've asked me that question. I've even had parents to say, what can I do? But never have I actually heard a parent say, I didn't want this child. But it wasn't mean. She didn't say she didn't love him. She didn't say she wanted to give him away. She just said this was not quite what I signed up for. And so I want to urge everybody to understand and just be considerate of the fact that everybody is going through something. Everybody. Do not be fooled. And if you're not going through anything now, keep living. There is something out there, and it's not that I'm wishing bad on you. It's just that we have to enjoy every moment in life. Because we know where we've been, we know where we are, but we don't know what the next moment holds. And so the very thing that we thought we had control over could be the thing that we've lost control over within an instant. And so we need to be, I'm going to leave you all with this, and I can't remember if I said it here or where I said it. But because we don't know how other people feel, and even if you've had that thought before, many hugs and many kisses to you, the thought of, I wanted a normal child. It's still very different for every person. So we can empathize with her, right? But I want you to be very cautious, moms and dads, when people say to you, if I were you, and they follow that up with something that you have already told yourself you know you need to do for your child. Because the truth of the matter is that they aren't you. They aren't you. And so they don't know what they would do if they were in your shoes. Because their shoes and your shoes, even if it's the same shoe and the same size made by the same maker, it's not the same shoe. Because the person who's wearing it is different. My foot doesn't fit in your shoe the same way that your foot fits in your shoe. Because my foot brings its own unique set of footprints, its own unique set of steps that it's taken in the past. My foot may have been to beaches and hot sand and walked on hot burning coals. Your foot may have only known fine butter being rubbed by the most generous of massage therapists. And so my foot and your foot are not the same. So that means that when you put my foot and your foot in what looks like the same shoe, it's not going to be the same. So we definitely have to be careful what we tell people we would do if I were in your shoes. Because we're not in their shoes, right? And on the other end, you must be careful when you go and accept information, suggestion, advice from somebody who has never walked in your shoes. Again, remember that your shoes on your foot are very different from that same shoe on another person's foot. So when somebody says, well, girl, if I were you, just stop them right there and say, well, girl, you're not me. And that is why I've got my kid in therapy. That is why I'm in therapy. That is why I'm in couples therapy. That is why I've talked to the pastor. That is why we're taking some medicine. That is why I've cried out to the Lord. That is why I'm on my face at the altar. That is why I quit my job to stay at home with my kids. Yes, it's a struggle, but that is why I'm homeschooling my kids. That is why I send my kids to public school. Folks ask me and my husband all the time, you mean you send your kids to Birmingham City schools? Yes, I do. Because I need my kids to understand who they are. I don't want them getting mixed up with anybody thinking they are anybody else other than who they are. And they need to know who they are. So that is why I send my kids to the school that I send to. And that is why you send your kids to the school you send yours to. Because even though we got the same shoes, i.e. kids, we don't have the same feet, i.e. my shoes and your shoes, your kids, my kids. Those are different kids. I mean, I don't want to bring it up about race, but y'all know I just keep it real over here because I can, because it's my show. And because people need to understand that I'm a black woman. I work in Walker County, Fayette County, all these counties, Calhoun County. I could go for hours without seeing anybody that looks like me, but these people have no idea what it's like to be me for real, because it's my foot and it's not their foot, right? So when they're telling me about their kids wanting to be police officers, they don't know that on my foot, I'm thinking, oh Lord, I got black boys, right? So your little boy just want to play cops and robbers. For me, I'm thinking, Lord, don't let them cop up on my boy. This is real life, right? My shoe and your shoe might be the same shoe. I love a good shoe. Y'all, I got so many shoes. One day I'm going to take y'all in my closet. Oh, Lord, there's so many shoes. But even if your closet look like mine, because my feet look different from yours, it ain't the same. So quit telling people if I were you, because you're not. Your relationship ain't like mine. Both my husband and I grew up in the house with a mama and a daddy. So the way we look at relationships is different from the way you do. We saw people sticking it out. But hey, I ain't got no business telling nobody, girl, if I was you, I'd stay there when he beating you up. Because I ain't never seen nobody get beat up. And my husband knows better. Y'all know Fred know better than to try to beat me up. Y'all know that? So what I look like telling you to stay in an abusive relationship when I've never been hit in my life by a man? Well, that one time my daddy did with me. I was about 5. He did with me one time. He did. I deserved it. I deserved it. He told me to say grace, y'all, and I told him I had already said grace. He told me to say it again. Y'all know my mouth. I told him I'd already said it. Child, my daddy whipped me. That's the only time my daddy has ever whipped me. Ever. So you know what I took from that? No man was supposed to hit me. So if a man hit me, we got an issue. So I should not be telling you about what you need to do in your relationship, right? Because that's not my foot. Do y'all, I'm sorry, I done started preaching over here. I didn't mean to preach. We were talking about ask the psychiatrist. Y'all got anything else to ask me today? Because we went off on a tangent. But sometimes we have to do that, right? Why? Because this is real life. And people are out there telling y'all, last week, y'all, if you were on the show last week, remember I read that mom's testimony? And what did she start off with? I finally pulled the trigger. And we went through her testimony and we broke it down. And what did she say? I'm not telling my family, right? She said she's not telling her family. Go back and watch last week's. That was a real life testimony. I got her permission to share that with you all. Because I felt like, you know, this real raw stuff is, I feel like, what people need to hear. I can tell y'all all day what I learned in the book, what I learned in school, what I've seen in practice. But it's these moms' words and these moms' testimonies that really pierce your hearts and let y'all know, wow, that's me. Like several of y'all have said on here. Each experience is different. Mama says, like, people are different. Tina says, I can relate to all this. You're really speaking the truth today. Cousin Tina says, wonderful and amazing advice. Cousin Alethea says, amen, Miss Perry. Real talk for real people in the real world is needed. Alethea says, amen. I know that's right. So that mama said she didn't tell her family because she knows that they'll be saying that people just overdiagnose. They want to label black boys, is I think what she said. But she had watched her child, I think he's in maybe 7th or 8th grade, struggle. Because what were people saying if I was in your shoes? And she said he had been on the medicine for just less than a month, I believe, and already self-confidence through the roof, grades through the roof, eagerness to go to school through the roof, irritability down below, right? He was the child. Once on a live, a mom told me, you gave me my son back. And that brought me to tears right here on the live. Why? Because there are people out here living with kids that aren't even theirs. That lady said she didn't even know what child was, but she got her son back. And so that's all I'm saying. I want you to do what you do. Now, you as parents have every right to not do or to do something for your child. But, you know, you just got to be legal, right? Can't do anything that's illegal. But make sure that when you're making a decision that it is because you made it. Or there's nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with seeking advice from other people. That's what y'all come here and do with me. That's what you do when you Google. That's what you do when you call up your friend, your pastor, your therapist, or whomever else. You are searching out options and trying to make the best decision, because anybody who ever said parenting was easy, they've either never done it or they lie for a living, for kicks and giggles. It is not easy. It is absolutely one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And let me tell y'all, I've done some hard stuff in my life. But parenting these 3 children is extremely difficult. And I have good help. I mean, my mom, my husband, cousins, sisters-in-law, in-laws. I mean, I have good help. And still, this is extremely hard. So I don't want to minimize the fact that it's hard. And we're all out here trying to figure it out, right? Do the best we can. Make decisions in the moment that we have really thought out. And so all I'm saying is, make the decision that you make. Don't let anybody make a decision for you that then you end up wondering, I wonder if. I sure do hate. I regret that. I shouldn't have listened. I should have done it. I know I should have done that. Because at the end of the day, it will be your child who is left holding the bag from the decision that you make today. The life that your child lives, 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years from now, can be changed by a decision that you make today. So when that relative, friend, church member, co-worker, stranger on the street comes to you and says, if I were you, make sure that what they are about to say after that fits with a foot that looks like yours. Because if that shoe doesn't fit, and I'm good at buying shoes, y'all, you better leave that shoe at the store. Leave it on Amazon. Leave it at Shein. Is it Shein? Leave it wherever it is, because that shoe is not for you. Look at their kids. Do they have any? And certainly, you don't have to have kids to have wisdom. But if they have 3 kids and they are all on the most wanted list, and I ain't talking about eligible bachelors, then you may want to consider the source, as my mother would say. I think y'all got the point today. Miss Alethea, my cousin, says there is someone who needs to hear this. I hope so, and I hope they get the message. That's why, guys, it's so helpful and it's so important for you all to share the video and then to go one step further. When you press share, before you press post, go write a little blurb up there. Because people see me all the time talking. They know that she like talking about ADHD. And they don't think their child got ADHD. Okay. But it might be helpful if they hear mamas with sons, mamas who are listening to relatives, mamas who are afraid to teach. This is for you. Some mama's gonna listen because you said it. She might not know me, but she knows you. And so she might listen because of that reason. All right. So we talked about a lot today. Y'all didn't have any questions. Do y'all have any questions? Because it's ex a psychiatrist, and y'all didn't ask me any questions. But I appreciate the comments. I greatly appreciate the comments. So appreciate the comments. But we went over laziness, being bored, not having motivation. We went over anxiety. We went over, I feel like we went over something else. I can't remember what it is. And then we went over this whole notion of if I were you. Taking advice from other people. I am getting a lot of questions about autism, and I think so. Last time I did autism, a big to do about autism was 2020 September. So if you need to know more information about that, go look at the September 2020 videos. But I think I'm going to do something like that again pretty soon, coming up on another Friday. Maybe we'll do that during spring break. We'll see. But anyway, if y'all don't have any questions, Miss Irma Craig is here. My Auntie Gail. Auntie Wanda is watching. Thank you. Miss Wanda Harris says, I know that's right. Thank y'all so much for watching. Thank y'all so much for commenting. I hope I didn't scare y'all. Talk about my feelings about my sons. But those are my feelings. Those are my shoes. Those are my feet. That's where my feet have walked. That's what I see. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, then you need to keep talking about it until you no longer feel uncomfortable about it. Because there are people out here in the world, that's our everyday life. That's our everyday life. And you know, I know some people that say they shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have been doing that. But both my sons are all A students on a roll. And they don't get no problems. And if a person chooses to go to a place, be riding down the street, if a person has a tail light out, they still ought to make it home. And some of us have that to worry about on our feet, but most people don't. So I know it was kind of heavy at the end. That was what was on my mind. Miss Terry Roby is here. Thank you for watching. Why are some kids violent with ADHD? That's a very good question. I don't know if you were in when I was talking about the emotions of ADHD. So the violence usually comes in, though, a couple of things. That's a loaded question. Let me try to break it down. ADHD is often associated with oppositional defiant disorder. Oppositional defiant disorder, these are the kids who are argumentative, defiant, oppositional, easily annoyed. They annoy others. They blame others for their mistakes. They're vindictive. And then they tantrum. Classically, they tantrum when they don't get their way, when they're told no, when they are not allowed to do something that they want to do. That is the tantrum that you get in a child who has oppositional defiant disorder. So if you take the impulsivity from a child who has ADHD and you combine it with these tantrums that are known to be associated with oppositional defiant disorder, this is where you can get a lot of aggression and violence. I would dare say, though, that because of the impulsivity that is seen with ADHD, sometimes kids aren't even trying to be aggressive or irritable or violent, but they'll just do something like stick their foot out and trip up a classmate, or walk up to somebody or hit them or slap them. And then they get labeled as bullies. Well, when I'm talking to them, this is the sweetest kid I've ever seen, at least for that moment. The sweetest kid I've ever seen in that moment. And the parents are like, oh no, they're not aggressive. And then when you ask them, why'd you hit Johnny? do you not like Johnny, or is Johnny mean to you? Oh no, Johnny's my best friend. Well, why'd you slap him? I don't know. Very common. The impulsivity could just, make a kid just haul off, slap somebody, and go back to their seat. And they're like, hey, Johnny. And Johnny's like, his face is, got a slap mark. He's scared because he doesn't know what happened. So it could be that it's the impulsivity. It could be that that it's the ODD, right? And so they're just tantruming. And they get so worked up, so wound up, that then they start throwing things, saying things, hitting people. It can get pretty rough. And then don't forget that ADHD is commonly seen in kids who are autistic. And so sometimes with autism, the kids can be aggressive because they simply just don't understand what you're saying. They may not be able to process it. They may not have the words to tell you what they want you to know. And so it could be any of those things. So you really just kind of have to look more into the individual and what's going on with their feet to really know why it's that way. But those are some things that come up right away. Terry Rober says, happy Friday. We've had storms like this morning. Help the kids without power. Absolutely. Well, we are prayerful that everyone will remain safe in the state of Alabama and wherever else there's weather. I know out in California they've got snow, so it's just all kind of strange things going on. But make sure you're weather aware, make sure that you're safe, and we can replace these things. We can replace these things, but it is hard to replace a life. So do what is best for you, and don't try to save any stuff. But we'll be very prayerful for the folks that are without lights today, right now. Miss King says, Dr. Brandy, you totally like it is. You were very real, Dr. Brandy. And Miss King, you've known me all my life. The only way I know to be is real. I can't figure out how to be anybody else, and Lord knows I'm too old of a dog to be learning new tricks. But I have mastered how to be me. I'm still letting God work on me, right? Because I'm so far from perfect that I don't even know if I can see it in direct vision. But what I can do is be who I am in this moment, which is about the same person I am in every moment. And so I appreciate your kind words and all of you guys' support. I really do appreciate that. Mama says, as parents, we should always consider what is best for our children and not what is best for us. And that is such good advice, and it's so hard because the world, people are so critical and are so judgmental. And so, people are embarrassed that they have kids that have special needs. And then we place blame on ourselves. Like the lady asked me last night, this same mom, what did I do? Did I do something? Is it because his dad is this age? Is it because it's my age? Is it because I walked on my tippy toes? Is it because I didn't get enough vitamin D? Did I do something? And so we always want to do what's best for us. But really, that is good advice. And again, I have to remind parents, you want your kid to grow up and do all these great things. We want what's best for us. And so we must stop at nothing short of excellence in order to get our kids. All right, Auntie says, is it good to hit them back when they hit you? Again, it's gonna depend. Is this a 16-year-old who's trying to fight you? Or are we talking about a 3-year-old who is autistic and nonverbal, and they are in the middle of trying to get you to understand something they're saying? Or is it a 3-year-old who ran up and hit you because you wouldn't give them a piece? That is the reason for them hitting, and then just kind of go from there. Auntie says she is in California and it's just cold there. So a 5-year-old, again, need to know a little bit more. Is the kid just running up on you because you wouldn't get them a toy at Walmart? Or are they in the middle of a tantrum? Because you got to know that when you know that look in a person's eyes when they are not there, when something else has taken over and they have stepped away. I don't know that hitting that person is going to be beneficial because they may not even know where they are or what they're doing in that moment. So you really just kind of got to look at all of the pieces to know what's going on for sure. But those are good questions. Sorry I can't give you a yes or no. It's just, you just need more answers. But if I was forced to go with yes or no on do you hit them back, no would be the answer. No would be the answer. right? If you've got a kid who's a biter and you've done everything, you know, some parents will say, well, I just bit him so he'd know what it felt like. Well, okay. But me personally, I just don't want to bite nobody. I mean, I'm just real weird about food and what I bite as far as food. So I can't imagine biting a human. But DHR in Alabama says you cannot leave a mark on kids. So you need to find out what your DHR in your state says, everybody, before you whip, spank, and certainly bite anybody back. All right. Any other questions for me? All right, guys, if there are no other questions, I am going to get out of here. I didn't mean to keep y'all this long. I'm sorry. Oops, let's see what's happening there. What's going on? I don't know. There are these dots. All right, well, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you all and your feedback, your presence. Please share. Write a little blurb at the top. Let the people know what we're doing over here. We're having fun, right? This wasn't a whole lot of fun at the end, but that's what we do. We have fun. We educate. And guess what? Sometimes learning and growing, you know, there are these growing pains that really, like, we as medical professionals, because y'all know I'm board certified in pediatrics, we don't have a medical explanation for what growing pains really are, right? But it works for this point that I'm about to make, and that is that growth hurts. And it's not going to be all bubbles, lilies, and roses without thorns, okay? That's not growth. Growth is gonna, as they say, sing you down through there. It's gonna challenge you to think about the things that you think, the things that you do. You know, it's going to make you be better. And they tell me, and I like diamonds too, they tell me though that without pressure, a diamond is just coal. C-O-A-L. That's what, I think that's right? Coal plus pressure equals diamonds. And we all want these diamond kids, but we don't want the pressure. We all want to be showcased as star parents, but we don't want the pressure. The pressure is what builds the character. The pressure is what tells you if you've got the grit. I would love for everybody to not have to apply pressure in parenting, in life. But the fact of the matter is that there are some things that are going to happen that are going to make you apply pressure. There are going to be some things that are going to apply pressure to you. And whether or not you remain coal-like or diamond-like is going to be the difference about how you make it through that period of pressure. So as the weekend comes about, hopefully there will be good weather wherever you are. You can get out and have some fun. Take some time to say no to things that you don't have to do, and some time to say yes to yourself. That is really what is key. You know, I love y'all. Love y'all. Look out for next week. It's going to be second Saturday. Next week, He Said, She Said with Dr. Brandy featuring Fred. That's my husband's and my radio show. So you all can find us. I'll make sure that you have the information about how you can find us for that. If you have any questions, shoot them to me, but not if you're my patient. Please do not send any information over to the page about, you know, your personal needs if you're my patient. But I do wish you all a good weekend and much luck in this thing called parenting and in life. And as I close, I'm Dr. Brandy B, your triple board certified pediatrician, adult psychiatrist, and child and adolescent psychiatrist. And through my Facebook live stream, Focus On It Friday, I help worried moms, dads, grandparents, educators, teachers, and all who have an interest in children get the education that they need so that their kids can be successful in the classroom and in life. Have a good weekend. Do what you need to do for you and your kids. Make sure you love on everybody who you love, because we never know when the last time will be the last time. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.